Imagine being thrust into a life of violence at just 15 years old, with the chaos of the Civil War as your only guide. Jesse James, a name synonymous with outlaws and rebellion, lived a life more tumultuous than any legend could capture. From his early days as a Confederate guerrilla to his notorious reign as a feared outlaw, Jesse's story is one of relentless pursuit, hidden passions, and ultimate betrayal. Today, we're counting down the top 20 untold secrets about Jesse James, revealing the man behind the myth and the life that shaped him into one of history's most infamous figures. Let's dive right in. Number 20. Relentless Pursuit. After the war ended, life didn't get any easier for Jesse and his brother Frank. The Union sympathizers, along with law enforcement, relentlessly pursued them, determined to bring the former Confederate fighters to justice. However, instead of breaking their spirits, this relentless pursuit only deepened their resolve. The James brothers refused to be captured, choosing instead to fight back with the same ferocity they had displayed during the war. This period of constant pursuit solidified their decision to live outside the law, becoming the notorious outlaws they are remembered as today. Number 19. Medical advice led to a sea voyage. In the midst of his violent lifestyle, Jesse James suffered a severe injury that almost ended his life. Seeking a way to recover, his physician advised him to change his environment, a suggestion that led Jesse to embark on a sea voyage to the Pacific. This trip was a rare moment of retreat for the outlaw, a brief escape from the constant danger that defined his life. Although it was unusual for someone like Jesse to take such a voyage, it underscores the toll his violent life had taken on his body and mind. Yet, even in this moment of peace, Jesse could not fully escape the life he had chosen. Number 18. A notorious love affair. Despite his reputation as a ruthless outlaw, Jesse James had a softer side, particularly when it came to matters of the heart. He managed to marry his longtime love, Z. Mims, in a private ceremony, despite the constant threat of capture. The marriage was performed by Jesse's uncle, a minister, highlighting the stark contrast between his violent public life and his private devotion to those he loved. This marriage was one of the few aspects of Jesse's life that seemed normal, providing a glimpse into the man behind the outlaw persona. Number 17. A poet at heart. Interestingly, Jesse James was more than just a gunslinger. He was also a poet at heart. Despite the violence that surrounded him, Jesse found solace in writing poetry, often using verse to express his innermost feelings and thoughts. This creative outlet was a stark contrast to the bloodshed he was known for, revealing a depth to his character that few knew about. His love for poetry shows that even the most feared outlaws had their moments of introspection and sensitivity, adding another layer to the complex figure that was Jesse James. Number 16. A child's blessing. Jesse James might have been an outlaw, but when it came to his family, he was a different man entirely. He and his wife, Z, had children, and despite his criminal lifestyle, Jesse was known to be a doting father. On his ranch, he would often be seen playing with his children, showing a tender side that was in stark contrast to his ruthless reputation. This duality in his personality, being both a feared outlaw and a loving father, adds to the complexity of his character, making him a figure both fascinating and tragic. Number 15. False friends. However, the life of an outlaw was never far behind. Jesse often relied on the help of false friends, people who appeared to be respectable members of society, but were, in reality, sympathizers of his outlaw activities. These individuals provided him with shelter and protection, making him nearly impossible to catch for many years. This network of secret allies allowed Jesse to evade law enforcement time and time again, contributing to the legend of his elusiveness and cunning. Yet, it also showed the precariousness of his life, where trust was a rare and fragile commodity. Number 14. The Gallatin Bank tragedy. One of the most infamous incidents in Jesse James's life was the Gallatin Bank robbery in 1869. During the heist, Jesse is believed to have killed the bank's cashier, a man he claimed was a former Union officer responsible for the death of one of his friends. Although there was no evidence to support this claim, it illustrates how Jesse's past grievances from the Civil War continued to influence his actions. This tragic event not only added to Jesse's notoriety, but also underscored the personal vendettas that fueled much of his criminal activity. Number 13. The mysterious escape from Kentucky. Despite his many close calls, Jesse James had a remarkable talent for escaping seemingly impossible situations. After a botched robbery in Kentucky, Jesse led his gang on a daring retreat through the hills and forests, evading capture despite being pursued by a determined posse. This escape, like many others, added to the mythos surrounding Jesse, painting him as an almost supernaturally elusive figure. His ability to slip through the fingers of law enforcement repeatedly turned him into a folk hero for some, and a ghostly menace for others. Number 12. A Pacific retreat. At one point, Jesse James even attempted to leave his outlaw life behind by relocating to California. He stayed on a ranch and lived under an assumed name, trying to live a quiet and law-abiding life. However, the pull of his past was too strong, and eventually, he returned to his old ways. This brief attempt at normalcy highlights the internal conflict within Jesse, the desire for peace versus the allure of his dangerous, adrenaline-fueled lifestyle. In the end, the outlaw life was too deeply ingrained in him to be abandoned. Number 11. Family tragedy. Jesse James' life was shaped not only by his own actions, but also by the tragic events of his childhood. His father, Reverend Robert James, was a respected Baptist minister who left Missouri to seek fortune in the California gold rush. Unfortunately, Robert James died of illness far from home, leaving young Jesse without a father figure during his formative years. This loss had a profound effect on Jesse, contributing to the anger and resentment that would later fuel his violent tendencies. The absence of his father left a void that Jesse seemed to fill with his relentless pursuit of a life outside the law. Number 10. Ambush on militiamen. One of the most harrowing incidents in Jesse's life was an ambush on a group of militiamen who had attempted to capture him. Jesse, ever the tactician, turned the tables on his would-be captors, killing 3 of them in a deadly display of efficiency and fearlessness. This incident further solidified Jesse's reputation as a man not to be trifled with, a figure who was both respected and feared by his enemies. It also demonstrated the lengths to which Jesse would go to avoid capture, cementing his status as one of the most dangerous outlaws of his time. Number 9. Sociable fugitive. Despite being a wanted man, Jesse James had a sociable side that might seem surprising. He was known to appear in public places under various disguises, mingling with ordinary people even as he was hunted by law enforcement. Remarkably, Jesse managed to visit major towns like New York City, where he engaged in social activities without arousing suspicion. This ability to blend in with the crowd, even while on the run, speaks to his cunning and adaptability. It also adds to the legend of Jesse James as an outlaw who could appear and disappear at will, always one step ahead of those who sought to bring him to justice. Number 8. Guerrilla roots. Jesse's guerrilla roots during the Civil War played a significant role in shaping the brutal tactics he employed later in life. His involvement in the violent Confederate guerrilla warfare introduced him to some of the most savage methods of combat, which he would later adapt to his criminal activities. The lessons learned during those chaotic years, ambushes, hit-and-run tactics, and ruthless retribution, became the foundation of Jesse's approach to outlaw life. These guerrilla tactics made him an exceptionally dangerous adversary, capable of outmaneuvering and outgunning nearly anyone who tried to confront him. His military background gave him an edge in both planning and executing his notorious crimes. Number 7. Ironclad confidence. One of the most defining characteristics of Jesse James was his ironclad confidence. Even when surrounded by enemies or facing overwhelming odds, Jesse rarely showed fear. In fact, he often taunted those who tried to capture him, daring them to try their luck. This unshakable confidence, bordering on arrogance, made Jesse a larger-than-life figure in the eyes of both his allies and adversaries. It was this very confidence that allowed him to take bold risks, leading to some of his most daring escapades and contributing to his enduring legend. Jesse's fearless demeanor and refusal to back down from any challenge only further solidified his place in history as a fearless and defiant outlaw. Number 6. Mexico connection. In one of the more unexpected turns in Jesse James's life, He and his brother Frank fled to Mexico, seeking refuge from the relentless pursuit of American law enforcement. During their time across the border, the James brothers lived among the locals and even participated in local conflicts. These adventures in Mexico added another layer to the already complex narrative of their lives, as they experienced a different culture and way of life. However, the call of their homeland and the lure of their outlaw lifestyle eventually brought them back to the United States, with new stories and experiences from their time in Mexico. This chapter in their lives is less known, but adds depth to the legend of Jesse James, showing his adaptability and willingness to go to any lengths to evade capture. Number 5. A failed prospector's son, Jesse's fascination with wealth and power may have had its roots in his father's failed ambitions during the California gold rush. Reverend Robert James had left Missouri to try his luck as a prospector, hoping to strike it rich in the Wild West. His untimely death and the subsequent return of Jesse's family to Missouri likely influenced Jesse's later obsession with acquiring wealth through robbery and other illegal means. The pursuit of fortune, which eluded his father, became a driving force in Jesse's life, manifesting in the numerous bank and train robberies he orchestrated. This unfulfilled legacy of wealth and success perhaps pushed Jesse to seek riches through the only means he knew: outlawry. Number 4. Unsolved mystery. Union Pacific Express robbery. One of the more mysterious aspects of Jesse James's criminal career is his suspected involvement in the Union Pacific Express robbery. During this heist, a massive amount of gold was stolen, and while many believe Jesse was behind it, his involvement was never conclusively proven. This unsolved mystery has become a part of the larger-than-life legend of Jesse James, leaving historians and enthusiasts alike to speculate on the true extent of his criminal activities. Whether or not Jesse was directly involved, the heist remains a testament to the bold and daring nature of the robberies associated with his name. The uncertainty surrounding his role in this major crime only adds to the mystique of Jesse James, keeping his story alive in the imaginations of many. Number 3. A mysterious bride. Jesse James was not just a criminal mastermind. He also had a romantic side that often went unnoticed. In one of his more clandestine relationships, Jesse was involved with a mysterious woman in New York who never knew his true identity as an outlaw. Their relationship ended abruptly when Jesse had to flee the city to avoid capture, leaving the woman with unanswered questions and a shattered romance. This story adds a touch of mystery and tragedy to Jesse's life, showing that even in his romantic endeavors, his outlaw existence was always a shadow that he couldn't escape. The secretive nature of this relationship highlights the double life Jesse led, constantly balancing his criminal activities with his personal desires. Number 2. Death by a friend. The story of Jesse James ultimately ends in betrayal, a fitting yet tragic conclusion to his life. Jesse was betrayed and killed by Robert Ford, a member of his own gang, who shot him in the back of the head while he was unarmed and unaware. This act of treachery brought an ironic end to the life of one of America's most notorious outlaws. The man who had eluded capture for so long, who had outsmarted and outfought countless pursuers, was finally brought down by someone he trusted. Jesse's death at the hands of a friend not only marked the end of his reign of terror, but also cemented his place in history as a legendary figure whose life was as dramatic as his death. The betrayal and his subsequent death have been immortalized in history and popular culture, reminding us that even the most feared outlaws can fall to treachery. And so ends the tale of Jesse James, a man whose life was as tumultuous and unpredictable as the Wild West itself. From his early days as a teenage raider to his final moments of betrayal, Jesse's story is a stark reminder of the thin line between legend and reality. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets behind one of history's most infamous outlaws, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to explore and share these incredible stories with you. Thanks for watching, and we can't wait to dive into more fascinating histories together in our next video.